been a day.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Long day?
Always is. The day before sample try. It's always, always a bit of a spicy one.
Yeah, that's set up, I'm sure.
Just getting everything ready and, crossing your T's and dotting your I's and hope you planned everything the way you're supposed to and things are showing up like they're supposed to and just getting it all ready. And it's not bad. We've streamlined it a lot. It's gotten easier for sure, but it doesn't make it easy.
Are you pretty involved with the setup for Giant Fest?
Not a lot for the most part. I used to be before Nutrithority. And then I tried to separate myself a little bit from what was going on just so I'm not always on call for everything. Giant, but
so I'm sure there's enough with Nutrithority and it by itself that
I mean there's plenty, but I mean it's just a you guys handle your stuff, I'll handle my stuff kind of a situation, what I mean?
Compartmentalized a little bit more. So
a little bit. Yeah.
Well, before we go too far into it, I'll introduce you to everybody that's listening. Today we have Jared Ragsdale with us. He is I know it is somewhat of a family run business, but I'll introduce you as owner of Nutrithority, brand that we carry in Triad and has done really well. You guys have awesome formulas.
Thank you.
I think it was, I think we really got behind the brand before we even knew you guys a whole lot personally. We knew of you guys, but I know everybody at the store, all our employees really like the formulas, like the products a lot. So it was an easy brand to get behind. So definitely very proud to carry it in our stores.
I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that Mr. Fusion Raspberry Rage is the best tasting pre-workout on the market.
Oh man, thank you. I appreciate that. That's one of my favorite flavors.
So good.
The raspberry, I've been doing the BCAs in the raspberry.
Me too. There's a constant flow in my cabinet I have the raspberry aminos.
You guys are the same way though. You have so many options just sitting around all the time. I mean, but that's what I drink pretty much every day.
So good. So good.
I'll mix up the raspberry aminos or an EAA or something, and I'll take like 121. It's our high intensity pre-workout. And I'll take like, an eighth of a scoop or something. I throw that in there and that's my drink most of the time.
Well, it's nice because it's a strong enough flavor, but it's not like overpowering where my like morning sludge concoction, that's like my hydrate and my greens and aminos. And, usually in the morning we'll just run through it. Everybody's super interested in this. It's Define Hydrate. It's amino factor. And then it'll be, if I'm headed to the gym, it'll be First Form's Enduraformance to get my creatine, Pico 2, beta alanine blend. And then I've been using the Transparent Labs greens. It's got it's got like 8 grams of fiber in it per serving.
Really?
Yeah, which is super dope because it's like a full fiber. It's like a fiber product and a greens product. But that's like my sludge. But the flavor that peaks through the most is the raspberry. And
nice.
It's tasty. It's good.
I did test. We have a greens product that I tested the raspberry on, and it's actually pretty good.
Talking.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
I have drank so many raspberry flavored things from Nutrithority recently. Like I legitimately have I'm like on like the dozenth tub of raspberry in the BCAs that you guys make because the flavor. I had to get a different flavor at one point because we didn't have it in stock, and it just, dude, I missed the raspberry instantly. So that might be a forever flavor for me.
Well, thanks. So good.
I appreciate that.
That is it's funny when I talk to people, especially like Mr. Fusion's such a good product too, in the sense of it's great for somebody who, it's something that I can take and it's something my mom could take. Like somebody like, or my wife would take like a single scoop, doesn't want like a ton of beta alanine or but not a ton of caffeine at a single scoop, but a really solid flavor where it's like, somebody getting into supplements is gonna be like, I don't know, how's it gonna taste? I'm like, no, this is bomb. And then I can like 2 scoop it and be like, let's go work out. So it's a really solid product.
Thanks. Yeah. I call it my daily driver.
Yeah.
You have the pre-workouts for those days. It's maybe more intense or something, but you want something to take every day. That's the one.
Yeah.
Right.
It's just an easy one. You don't have to worry about it being cracked out or anything.
No.
I know it fits a lot lot of people in our stores. That's for sure. So yeah,
it's a great one.
It's not the sexiest, in the days where it's, as many doses and ingredients as possible and, just maxing out the panel. It's not quite that crazy, but
yeah, but it fills a need. It fills a need well.
Yeah.
And it's not quite as crazy expensive. It's not $60, $70 for a tub. So again, that's why it's done really well for us and people in our stores. So
good. That's what I'm sampling out tomorrow.
Heck yeah.
Hey, there we go. I'll be walking by your booth.
There you go.
Popping by. Jared, so definitely really excited to talk with you, man, because you've been in the industry for a very long time. And again, from my understanding, you're very family run business. I know that there's a number of family members all running, not just, I know it's you running primarily Nutrithority, but obviously Supplement Giant is a big part to that. It's separate, but obviously I think that's where you started.
Yeah.
But man, I've been really excited because, we've never gotten to sit down and talk and get to know each other. I see you at, Sample Triad when you're able to join, but it's I think a crazy day for both of us that we don't get a lot of time. So, man, super excited to learn a little bit more about you. So, walk us through, like, when did Supplement Giant get started? Because that's the origin story, right?
That's the origin story. It was first called Home Fitness. Okay. So 1990, I was born in 88. So I was not
born in 1990.
Wow, young entrepreneur.
So you weren't even there. Yeah. Right. So it was my parents started the first one, which in Tulsa, my dad's uncle actually had a home fitness store, which was the treadmills and the ellipticals and all that kind of stuff. And so he started one in Wichita. Wichita was the right area for him. Close enough to Tulsa that I think they could help each other.
Yeah.
But there was no competition in Wichita that he was looking at when he was looking for markets. And I grew up in the back room with my two brothers, some bean bags, Super Nintendo and cable box and stuff like that. And so
what was that like growing up with a family run business like that?
I mean, it was annoying in a lot of ways.
Okay.
My parents both worked together.
Yeah.
And they just have the kind of personality where they just go back and forth. If there's a problem, they're loud and, yellers and things like that. So there was always, they figured it out. They're still doing it. But that was the part of it. And, family run business, like you guys know, it's hard to get away. It's hard to detach from business. It's hard to, go on the family vacations and things like that. But we still did. But it was always, that was definitely, I think the focus of life was always business, that kind of thing. And so that made it tough in some ways growing up, but also very cool. I went to the trade shows whenever I was pretty young. So there was one trade show. It was a fitness one, not supplements. They just weren't as big. Yeah. For a long time, there weren't supplements were just kind of like a corner of our store. And then 2000, we actually branded the name Supplement Giant for supplementgiant.com. And then that became like the supplement side of the stores and that. Okay. But yeah, I went to the, the fitness trade shows, and there was one time there's this guy that had I don't know, it was like a scooter, like the Razor scooters, but it had two in the front and like one in the back. I had nothing else to do, so I was just riding that thing around the whole time. I was probably 10 years old, or something like that. At the end of it, he gave me a free scooter. He's like, here you go. If you can come back and demonstrate this for some people, he's like, I'll give you one of these for free.
That's awesome.
And so I came back. The guy never showed up. He was like, I'll give it to you anyway. So,
wow.
Yep. But no, met all the people, Bill Kazmaier and the, Jay Cutler and Ronnie Coleman. I went to the Arnold. I think my first Arnold was like 15 years old or something like that. So yeah. So I've been around. I've seen the rise and the fall of, the big brands and things like that too. Just like you guys have seen a lot of them. But.
Oh yeah.
We have not been in the industry nearly as long. I know that we've started to, we're getting to the point where we've both probably been in the industry for about a decade now. Both of us started at Supplement Superstores in Springfield, moved here in 2015, 2016. And we've seen kind of a little bit more of the life cycle of brands. Like, cause I know when we first started, it was, there's these popular brands, there's, these old brands, and then there's these up and coming brands. And, we and that's just how it was. And it's funny to see how much that's cycled over and getting to watch new people come into the store and seeing what's popular and what's not. And it's like, you're telling them about brands that like, they were popular 5 years ago and they've never even heard of them. Yeah. And it's like, what happened to this brand?
Yeah. I mean, you remember Muscle Farm, right? Like they were huge. I mean, they had the UFC sponsorship and everything. And I don't think they're around anymore. I don't even know.
I bet we could find at least one employee that's never heard of Muscle Farm.
We could find, how many employees do we have?
18 now.
We probably could find 15 I've never heard of muscle phone. Like, not joking. I bet we could find 15.
How funny,
dude. Yeah. Like, they maybe would recognize the logo from maybe
the
seeing
green
it from
and the
like
black.
from like a UFC fight. But yeah, they had the Arnold protein. They
they did. They had the Arnold stuff.
Well,
Amino spiked everything.
Dude, it's so bad. Like, you look back at it and you're just like, oh, like, man, this is just powdered cow guts, isn't it? And they're like, what are you gonna do?
Well, it's really interesting because if you look back at the industry, like, you have these dominant leaders like EAS and Metrics and things. And whenever we were first starting, as far as I remember, because I was just a kid, that was what drove people in the store. Mm-hmm. And then for a long period of time, those brands were, they weren't the dominant ones, but there were still dominant brands. But people came into a supplement store kind of looking for new stuff. Yeah. Now it seems to be cycling back to the dominant brands bring people back into the supplement stores because they're looking for them. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it seems there's like this 2012, range, 2015 range where it was like people were interested in what's the other stuff that's out there. Go to the supplement store. Now the internet is just like the magazines were back then.
Yeah, I guess maybe that transition, from all the dominant brands that probably were in more retail, weren't prepared for the internet boom, are phasing out and kind of a limbo period prior to, all the internet brands or brands that could cater around being better for the internet were really booming or taking a dominant share of the market. Yeah. So.
When you're seeing now with like the rise, obviously, of social media being so intense that like, where it was always such an interesting thing, but I feel like until recently, and maybe this is just in my spectrum of working in the supplement industry, but was like, you could be the biggest name in bodybuilding and come out with a supplement brand and nobody cared for a really, really, really long time. Yeah. And now we're really starting to see this like, oh, I want to take the Chris Bumstead stuff. Like, I want to take this. And it was like, it's just very interesting transition where it was, there wasn't a big, and again, maybe this is just for me, but I don't ever remember people wanting a Jay Cutler or wanting a Ronnie Coleman brand. They were associated with brands and that maybe drove some, but
I remember you brought up the Arnold brand releasing with Muscle Farm years ago. And I remember there being at least some hype around that, but at least for us, I know it lost a lot of hype very quickly when we got to finally see the quality of the stuff that was coming out.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that played into it or not.
Well, and I think with social media too, you're also seeing the popularity of things like bodybuilding in general being at a much younger age than I feel like it has been in a long time. I mean, the Trend Twin event, we had 1,000 people that were all like literally 1,000 people.
I wouldn't even know who these guys are.
We had no idea.
Right? It's such a different generation. It's crazy.
Each individual one of them have over 1 million followers on Instagram, and then their combined one has over 1 million followers on Instagram.
Really?
And it's like, we did this like kind of on a whim thing, and it was like 1,000 people in line from the ages of 17 to 23 was probably the dominant age range. And it's like, oh yeah. And they're like, I will buy anything that they make.
Really?
Yeah. And you're like,
so the sales were good on the day.
They were.
Really?
They were good on that day. Yeah.
Because we've played around with who to bring at these different, like the Giant Fest. We didn't always call it Giant Fest, right? But there was one year we had, was it Forrest Griffin, the UFC fighter?
Oh yeah.
Big turnout, but nobody bought supplements. Yeah. The fighters just aren't big supplement people, especially that time period. He was BSN.
That's cool though.
Yeah.
Well, go ahead.
That was definitely a big thing for that event, was like it had to make sense, because I know we'd kind of looked at some in the past. We've never really brought a really, really big name out before. I guess we had Julian Smith at the last sample triad, but we carry Arms Race and they sent it out as kind of a courteous thing. But I mean, we were looking at like Sam Sulik whenever he was with Hostile.
Yep.
It was, I think it was like a $40,000 buy-in.
Yep.
And it was at least for us, like we weren't getting the best margins on Hostile and like weren't moving a lot of it. It's like, I don't know if we could move that much.
Yeah.
But
I think the Supplement Giant guys tried to get him.
Oh, really?
I think they were lining him up.
Yeah.
And they were going in for that buy-in,
He's got a lot of attention, man. That's for sure.
It was big, but
I think
a lot of people. It didn't work. I think the time periods or something didn't work for him. Might have been when his contract was coming to an end or something like that. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But
that makes sense.
Yeah. Because they're not together anymore, right?
I don't think so. No.
Maybe we'd be sitting on 40 grand a hostile.
Yeah.
That's how it used to be with the BSN buy-ins and stuff. Like when we had Ronnie, it was like a 40K buy-in or something like that for Ronnie back in the day.
Yeah. It's tough. But yeah, for Farrell, it was definitely one of those that it like, it wasn't quite as big of a buy-in, and like, they were structured a lot more to support wholesale, a little bit more than Hostile was. But then it was still a decent buy-in. So it was like, hey, like if we're going to be able to support this event that brings them out, it's like all we need you to do is just purchase a Farrell product. Like if you're a Trend Twin fan, like you're probably wanting to try their pre-workout or something that they make, and it's like just purchase a product and you can see them. So it's like we structured it that way, and just kept it simple, and it worked really well.
That's a good way to do it. Yeah. Get something out of it that way. We did Jay Cutler one year. And it was finally, the line was like 2 or 3 hours long.
Oh, yeah. That's how it was for this.
Yeah. And so we started going up to the line like, all right, anybody that buys 2 of the Cutler nutrition products can skip the line.
Yeah.
And you guys go to the front of the line, dude. A bunch of people just start pulling out. Yeah, I'll skip it. They're already going to wait for 2 hours.
Yeah.
Buy a couple products.
Yeah, whatever.
Skip the line or something.
Well, you're seeing stuff like that where it's like outside of maybe sports, or maybe it is sport, where it's like, dude, they're going to charge you $60 just to see the guy anyway. Yep. It's like, well, spend $60, but get a product and get to see the guy.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It's a win-win. A lot of this is reminding me of something that we've talked about a lot, and something that we appreciate about you guys is we always seem to do the best. And I think you guys can understand this. And I know you obviously do, because we've talked about it a million times, is how easy it is to work with a supplement brand that has retail locations or experience in retail locations. Yes. It can be night and day. Not to say that any of them that don't are bad or anything, but it can be night and day differences on just like understanding what it actually takes, and like what those kind of environments are. Because you guys, your products have been awesome, super easy to work with. Like everything has just made so much sense, and it's like you can always like looking at it on paper and like you're like these guys they understand retail.
Yeah, because once you've been on the other side, you understand how to make it easy. You understand how to do all these things that they appreciate.
Right. Exactly.
All the nuances that actually support a store and keep a store running. It's funny. You start to develop an eye for for what are good brands and what are not. It's funny. We've seen some newer brands kind of popping off, and they're like, hey, we want to get in the store, and then they're confused on why they're like, hey, I'm offering 10% off on, versus our online prices. Like, you guys can't make that work. It's like, we've got rent, we've got employees, we've got we need a little bit more than 10% to be able to pay those bills.
People have no idea. That have never been in business, had to make money and pay. They just don't understand.
People excited to come to us, let us know that, we can make a 20% margin, and you're like,
crazy.
Okay, buddy. Would love to work with you. But
just go look at these other industries and what their markups are, and then come back and talk to us.
Man, I've got more questions on kind of, how you developed into Nutrithority and how that all got started. But, man, before, we get too far into it, you meant, like we talked about you being brought up in a family owned business that was run by your mom and your dad.
Yeah.
I grew up in a household where, both my parents worked generally 9 to 5 jobs.
Yeah.
So more of a traditional household in that sense, but my wife and I now are in the position that your parents were in, that we both are here running the business day to day with people like Thomas and Ryan and Preston, everybody that works at the stores. So we definitely work a lot, and Riley just comes to work with us. He saw the playpen over there. So we take turns working from the beanbag chair in there. Man, we
take turns holding the baby at meeting this morning.
100%. Yeah. But we are very much figuring it out as we go. And I'm just curious if you, from your perspective, if you had any advice on anything that you really liked that your parents did, or anything that, you see a lot of potential for, or.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't, going to the store and hanging out every day really wasn't a problem. I liked that for the most part. I mean, when they had a day off or something, we got to stay home. That was nice. It was change or something. We were in a shopping center. It was right next to a grocery store. And so I would walk over to the grocery store every day and just make my rounds and like try the samples or whatever. My dad would give me 26 cents every day for a piece of candy, and it was 25 cents plus tax. And it was like, whatever, the movie store, the rentals had like little candy things in there, like cow's tail, whatever it is, those things. Yeah. And so there's definitely good things in there. And, the experience that I learned growing up and hearing all about it and being involved in it was all good. The downside really was only when you don't have a structure or system built in place where people can handle things for you. Right. And so like a basketball game comes up or something like that. Are both my parents going to go? Are neither of my parents going to go? Yeah. That's more of where the issues came from, that where the business was always so busy and so important in certain ways that like, there's a lot of basketball games that I went to riding with a friend, or something like that. And that's, I'd say, just the downside to it. I mean, you can't get away from it for the most part. Sometimes you got to work and there's nobody to cover it. And so, I understood that as a kid too, looking back. And even with I've got 3 boys, 14, 12, and 10. And so, and then of course, my wife's over here hanging out. Yeah. And, that's an emphasis that I've really focused on. It's like, if they've got something going on, like I'm leaving, I'm just going to go. Yeah. If it was a track meet, I guess I'm going to take the day off. We're going to go to the track meet, if I can, things like that. So those things are really good, but only some minor downsides and things that come into it, not being home and, hanging out at the store and things. Yeah. We all said we would never work for the business too. And now we're all involved.
Right. The whole family.
Yeah. That was funny. A little bit when it was treadmills though. I mean, you saw the treadmills and, so like my job, I actually worked at Home Fitness, the Supplement Giant store, which is our flagship store. And I was the delivery guy for years, so I would deliver the treadmills and the home gyms, and I put all that stuff together. So I did all of that stuff as part of it. I fixed them, so if there was a motor that was bad, I had to go swap the motor, the belt and the deck. And, I didn't have any experience. You just kind of, you go and somebody shows you and you figure it out and that kind of thing. And so, there was one time I was dieting for a bodybuilding show, and this person bought a treadmill and a home gym. It was a smaller one, but like, it's like a 4 or 5 hour install for the most part on that. And it was like an hour away. And I'm like 2 or 3 weeks out from bodybuilding show, just by myself, carrying this thing, like dragging it down the stairs and like putting all that stuff together and things like that.
Jeez,
so So I've done a little of it all for the most part. But,
yeah. Do you feel like you were more prepared having your own business and your kids? You feel like you were more prepared being brought up in that environment to be able to handle that?
Yeah, I think so.
Good.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of that came in. I will say the only downside being in a family business is that you all have a very similar mindset. I was raised by my parents, so were my brothers, and so we all think the same way. And so to get a completely new, outsider's perspective is tough a lot of times, because you have one way that you're going to do it for the most part, and then all of a sudden you need new ideas, you need new people coming in and giving you different stuff. And we've got good partners and stuff now that bring in different stuff. But
good.
It's an interesting perspective though that I wouldn't have thought of like you and your brothers.
Tighter circle.
Somebody does something wrong, we're like, screw that guy. We're never doing business with them again. And there's been plenty of them. We've had people that just rubbed us the wrong way or something, and my brother's like, we're done. We're not dealing with these guys. That brand is dead in our stores. I don't care if people come in every day asking for it. There's another company that we did a lot of business with, and they own supplement stores, and they have a brand. We carried it first. We just brought it in. We bring it in, you bring it in, stuff or anything. We just brought it in, and the brand was good, and we had done good numbers with them. And we've got 12 stores now, and so good numbers is easy for the most part with 12 stores. You don't have to order a whole lot, for each store. And so I had my sales guy, and I was like, "Hey, reach out to these guys. Let's just get a conversation started with their stores." No response. Reach out again. No response. Okay, reach out to his wife. No response. Okay, reach out to his sales guy. No response. And I'm like, so finally we get a response. Okay, we'll send you some samples. And then radio silence.
Yeah.
That store just that brand got kicked out of the store.
Yeah.
You didn't have to bring in our brand.
Right.
Like that's not the deal.
Right. Just respond.
Responding and being courteous.
Yeah. Right.
That's really it.
Right.
Like give me the time of day and then just say, hey, it's not going to work out.
Right.
That's totally fine.
Completely fine.
We know we're not a good
fit. I spend $10,000 a month on your stuff.
100%.
Email me back.
We were well over $100,000 a year with this brand.
Email me back, please.
Yeah. All you got to do is respond. It's not rocket science.
Right.
So it's just that courtesy going there.
They're taking the approach of no one's home.
100%. Like you can't ignore us forever. Like, and then your sales guy's hitting us up for orders. And we're just like, sorry, man. Like,
you're
gonna have to go to our, it was our guy that places the orders now is one of our we finally centralized everything to one guy. We used to have every manager placing the orders and, the chaos that can ensue with that. And they made their decisions on what brands and how much and things like that. So finally we got it all in the last few years, got it all under control. One guy orders for everything. And so this guy was hitting up him and he's like, man, you're going to have to talk to the owners. I don't know what to tell you. You're going to have to talk to the owners. And we finally got an email from one of the guys there and he's like, hey, I'm supposed to place an order with you guys to repair the relationship. And I'm like, you guys just missed the point. Completely.
Yeah.
Just completely. It's not about the order. It was never about the order. It was always just about a conversation, just being nice.
Right. So you're just ordering only for that reason alone.
Yeah. 100%. You're never going to order again. I don't care. Like, it's not worth it. I was trying to build a relationship. Yeah. We have a mutual interest here.
Right.
We know we were selling you guys like $100,000 worth of stuff, but we're willing to place a $700 order to make sure that you keep buying our stuff.
100%. 100%. Yep.
That was very much the approach that we tried to take. And I think it's been people like you guys that have set a good standard for that, because I know there are people out there that are like, we won't bring in your brand unless you bring in our brand kind of situation. Right. And we've dabbled with that. We've never had much luck with it kind of deal. And it's like, we'll do that if that's what you want to do. But man, that's a little bit of a tough expectation both ways.
And then you're watching the numbers on each side. Well, I'm placing $1,500. When was the last time you ordered? And that's just not the way it should be.
We want to be excited about your brand.
Yeah.
Like we want to, like we've for the time that we've done this, I know we can swear up and down, and I'm sure you understand this as well as anybody, but it is like, what moves best in the store? The shit that the employees are excited about.
Yeah. Right. 100%.
Hands down.
Yep.
And it's like, if I'm just bringing this in to hope that you guys pick up Define, and we go to meeting and we're like, hey, we got this new brand, they're bringing in our stuff, so make sure you check it out. They're going to be like, okay.
Yep.
It's completely.
We're only hurting our stores if we're going about it that way. So we have to bring in what's best for the stores. We have to treat them as two separate things.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, you do for sure.
Yeah. And it's like, but if we get something and it's like, hey, like, check out these proteins. They're all super tasty. Like they're awesome. They're made well. They're processed well. Like everything we look for. They're tasty. They got pre-work. They got everything. All this stuff. It's all really. And they're like, holy shit, this stuff's awesome. And then it's like, yeah, cool. Yeah. And you grow from there.
Yeah, 100%.
That was genuinely the approach we took with you guys. Is we were like, hey, we've heard a lot of good things about Supplement Giant. Other people in the industry always had great things to say about Supplement Giant, and I know I've talked to a handful of people that have worked with Nutrithority in a number of different ways, and always really like the formulas a lot. So it's like, hey, let's just look into a partnership both ways. Let's look at Nutrithority. Let's maybe, send them some information about Define Nutrition. But they were mutually exclusive deals where as soon as we started looking at all the Nutrithority products, like I said before, we were all really big fans of the formulas and like the flavors. And we're like, this would do well in our stores. This would help our stores to have this. That's like, I don't even know if we had sent over information about Define Nutrition to
I don't think
Supplement Giants at that point. It's like, hey, let's just bring it in, man. Cause this would genuinely do well for us. And it's like, dude, if we get an opportunity with Define Nutrition, awesome. If not, no big deal at all.
Yeah, right. The stores are still being benefited. We still got a good brand.
Exactly.
The margins, the things we need, what we look for in products, it's all there. Like if we didn't have a brand, we'd be excited about this.
Right.
So it's like, don't let having a brand cloud your judgment on your store.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
But there are a lot of those that are now playing the swap game. I'll sell your stuff, you sell my stuff.
Right.
Not best for your customers.
It's not best for your customers, and it just doesn't work out.
Yeah,
it's just a bad relationship that's going to start.
Yeah, so. Yeah. It's not a genuinely good relationship.
Yeah.
So
completely.
Yeah. But yeah, it was one of those where we got our it's if this helps us get our foot in the door and build some relationships to potentially get our products out in other places, cool. But again, just doing it for our customers and our stores that's the focus. So
100%. But there's always a relationship that's being built. So, I mean, if that starts the relationship and it opens the door to conversation, that's just a natural extension of supporting a brand, supporting people, And that just makes sense to me.
Right. Yeah. Because then you're just like, oh yeah, I like these guys. They make good stuff. I'm excited about it. Why would I not want to do business with them?
100%.
Yeah.
It just they treat us well on this side. They'll probably treat us well in the inverse way.
Yeah.
So,
completely. Yeah.
Would you guys like a drink?
Absolutely. Let's do it. Let's crack it open.
Almost forgot we had this. But while I'm pouring this, one thing I am curious about is, and one thing I honestly didn't realize, I know you guys had worked with fitness equipment in the past. I think it was you that commented on the True treadmill that my parents still have.
Yep,
it still works.
Those things are great. I mean, I worked on plenty of them that were like 20 years old at the time when I was working on them, and they did great. And there's still plenty of them that are running. My parents have one in their basement. True made this mistake of putting a lifetime warranty on certain treadmills. And so my parents have a lifetime warranty. So something wears out, they just get a new part and put it in there, and it's replaced. I mean, so they're never going to get a new one. Right. Because we know how to replace everything. So it's pretty easy.
Right.
And so she just keeps using the same old treadmill.
Hey, why not?
They're well built. That's for sure.
It is. Yeah.
They got the thing when I was probably like 7 or 8 years old. So I beat the crap out of that thing. I was like playing on it and like swinging on the bar.
They're heavy duty for sure. I've carried a few of those down into a basement or two. Right. So,
but what was that transition of being primarily an equipment store to primarily a supplement store?
So some of it's natural. The supplement industry just grew. That's part of it. I mean, early 2000s, supplements started picking up. EAS really kicked it off with the Body for Life Challenge, things like that. And so more normal people were buying supplements at that point in time. Originally, we had sale days with GNC. Remember the GNC Gold Card days and things that, and they probably still have them. I don't know. But we matched our sales with theirs, and we're doing bigger sales than they were on those days. And that was the beginning in just one store. And then in 2007, my brother Ryan wanted to move to Denver. And so he's just, instead of going to college, he was going to go to Denver. He was going to start a supplement giant. And that was just what he did. And so, my dad and him went in 50-50. I'm not a partner in that business. And he opened his first store in Lakewood, Colorado, in the Denver area. And I think that kind of separated us as more like the supplement store. That was probably
Denver was kind of the first.
That was the first standalone store that was supplements. Yeah, it was 07, and then. And it was really Ryan getting involved in the business. And then I came back from college in 08. Thank you. Oh, yeah. Hand it to me. Thank you. I came back from college in 08 and worked at my parents' store. And my brother Jason came back around the same time from Breckenridge, where he was a lift engineer. He got his electrical engineering degree and was like climbing the lifts in Breckenridge and fixing them when they broke and everything. Yeah. So my dad convinced him to come back and work in the business. And when we all started working the business, like the first thing we noticed when we came back was just that we were not maximizing profits in any way. It was like the days when Europa would offer you like a 3+1.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, the lady that was ordering was like, well, I only have room for 2. And so she would just order 2 bottles. And I'm like, well, you're missing it. It's a 3+1. Just order, you're going to sell them.
Right.
No, I only have room for 2. And so we immediately, we took the margins and just from better ordering, took those. And
selling the same stuff.
Just order better.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Just a little bit more effectively, work some deals, and so some of that stuff, Jason and I came in. So about 2008, 2007, I think we really branched away from home fitness and started really what became the Supplement Giant brand. And so 09, we opened our second Wichita location. So we had 3 at that point in time. So, but from 1990 until 2007, it was just that one store.
Right.
Wow.
And that was mostly fitness equipment up until the later part of that 2000s.
Gotcha.
Kind of thing. Yeah.
And so was it kind of you and your brothers that kind of helped create the capacity to have multiple locations? Like obviously Denver was you said Ryan, right?
Yeah, my brother Ryan. He's still out there, and so we have 6 in the Denver area and 3 in the Springs.
Okay.
Now, and he's the only one out there doing that. And then we sent another guy from Wichita that's a partner with us now. And he's out there too. And so he kind of does our regional managing kind of stuff out there. But yeah, that was kind of it. And it's not so much, the capacity is one of it, but the other side of it is just like that push towards expansion. We're like, let's just open another store. Why are we not opening another store? Let's go to the other side of town. Let's open another store. And so my dad was, he's a very calculated risk taker. So he's very conservative. And so he's not going to make a move. Like we've opened all of our stores, opened Nutrithority, opened everything debt free. Like we've never taken out any sort of investment money. We've never done anything like that.
Wow.
And so only profits from stores, basically opening new
That
stores.
is not easy to do.
No.
Not easy. It's put us in a good position.
Sure.
Like right now, especially things are kind of slower than they've been. Things are going down. It's more competitive. People have less money to spend and things like that. Ticket sales are going down a little bit. And so look, we don't have any debt. So we got a plus there. But yeah, it was really us pushing more than anything. Hey, let's open our next store. Hey, let's do this. That kind of thing.
Yeah. That's stuff. And obviously you guys the stores are pretty well stocked too. So it's not an easy thing. It's not, hey, we got an extra $5 or $10,000 laying around to, order some inventory and, we can, add some shelves and some flooring. It's like, they're nice stores. So
they're not cheap to open.
I will never forget a guy that I saw on the internet post about just business in general. He flips houses and does some other things, but was talking about how he could show you how to open a supplement store from scratch for $30,000. Not you would pay him $30,000. That it would cost you $30,000. And I was like, bro, we got $30,000 in shelves.
100%.
The transfer you took from here to the Quail location on Monday in one vehicle was almost that much.
Yeah,
just crazy. For the event.
$30,000.
Right?
What in the world are you talking about?
Yeah. Well, you've seen some of these stores.
Oh, I've seen them. I've seen them.
They've got 2 shelves on the wall and they've got like 5 or 10 products on the walls, and that's pretty much it. And there's a lot of them out there like that.
Yeah. The whole top shelf is just all shakers just to try and fill some space.
Yeah, 100%. I'm like, you guys don't have any back stock or anything?
Strategic placement of like
there's space in between everything.
The spaces in
they're
between.
not touching for sure.
Yeah. I'm like, bro, like there's between the fridge and like the pre-workout wall, it's like we get a transfer in or a shipment, and it's like you see 4 new flavors of a pre-workout that's too tall to stack on each other, and you see the life leave all of the employees' eyes as they know they're gonna have to reshuffle 65 products around to just make enough space to get these 4 to fit. And you're like, all right.
That's one of my favorite things is because when we first started and, we were trying to, fill our shelves as much as possible. And I think we were still fuller than the average store, but it was still like, I was like, man, I know we could be like, we have a lot more room to fill a lot more space out. We could look a lot more full. And so that was a big goal for me in the especially like first few years, was like just a bigger product variety. Let's fill the shelves. Let's have what people want. So like, it was easy because we had the room to squeeze things together. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But as we continue to grow and bring in more stuff, and my time got allocated less and less in the store, where I didn't get to see them reach capacity of our shelf space. I was in this, I think I still am in this mindset of
definitely
bring in, like if it's new and it's popular and people want it, bring it in. Mm-hmm. And I remember it was Alyssa and Trace when we were all still at just the Quail Springs location. I think it was just when we still had just one location, and it was, something new would be coming out, and Alyssa and Trace would be like, I don't think we have room. And I'm like, no, we have to bring it in if it's popular. And they would just, like you said, I think they'd be like tears in their eyes, like, we're not going to be able to fit all this.
Dude. Yep.
And it's like, I'm not the one having to put it on the shelf anymore. So it's like, there's a disconnect there.
Oh, for sure.
Yep, definitely. You got to find something to discontinue. Just replace. That's the hard part.
Yeah.
Like, what do we stop selling?
Yeah.
And it's one of those too of like, it's, okay, you pick the brand that's not moving. It's like, okay, we'll stop selling that. And it's like, okay, well, it's just going to sit there and still take up space.
True.
That's where we started doing the clearance sale once a year. Cause we try and avoid doing a lot of sales or discounts in the store. We really run none year round, but we do one weekend a year where we pull everything that's not moving, maybe getting close to expiring, and mark it all down 50%. And it's like, let's move all the brands that are not going to move otherwise and just clear the space, recoup some of the money, be able to put that into new brands next year. So that's helped us quite a bit to be able to turn that over. So
watching the expired products is probably the worst part of watching the supplement giants, because there's always some. And some of it's more, certain stores more than others, people, whoever's on top of their inventory control.
Yeah.
And who's not.
Oh yeah. I remember when we worked at supplement superstores, and most people know, but that's First Forms and Andy's and all them, the same company. But what was it that wasn't getting, because the back of at the S2 that we were at, they would just stack boxes in the back stock for most things. And what was it? Was it level 1 that like somebody, I don't know who, it wasn't any of us, but somebody
was it another store, wasn't it?
I think so, was just top stocking the boxes.
Of course.
Every time. And then it was like they pulled and realized that it was like 6 cases of level 1 were all
that could have sold.
Oh, yeah, that would have sold.
That would have
sold that number in inventory, but because they were just stacking the boxes on top, that it was a bunch. It was like a lot of them expired.
I had that happen to me with Amino Factor. Caramel. It was my caramel apple flavor. I had ordered early because we needed sample packs of it, and so they're like, "Well, you got to order it with the bottles to get the bulk because it wasn't enough bulk just to run by itself." And I'm like, "Okay, I'll order it early." So I had one pallet, and the guy that was the warehouse manager at the time didn't put them next to each other, didn't restack them. So there's 2 random pallets of caramel apple.
Right.
The guy that was packing the orders just kept getting it from the new one. And so finally I realized it with like a month to go and there's like half a pallet. And I was just like, well, good luck.
Oh, golly.
So, hundreds of bottles, that essentially, expired or were put into, some sort of clearance and pushed through as fast as possible.
Yeah, as fast as possible.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's the worst when it's like I can understand, hey, something just didn't move quite fast enough. Yeah. But when it could have moved.
When it's like purely an error.
There's a sting to that one.
It is. Yeah. Because there was plenty of time. If they just wouldn't have used that new pallet and just used the old, we would have been out of it, used some of the new stuff, would have been in great shape.
Great. Yeah.
Yeah.
I still remember that obviously Andy Frisella gets pretty amped up on his podcast.
What? Yeah.
And he was not super happy about those proteins expiring. Really? So you get to see the real side, or him really get going at those moments.
I get it, man. Like, could you imagine?
Yeah, I probably would have been about as equally as pissed. Yeah.
Imagine a pallet.
Yeah,
right. I know a pallet.
I know, man.
Oh.
It's just one of those situations where you just put your head down. You're just like, oh man.
Well, then you're also looking like,
didn't know you guys could screw this up this bad.
Did you guys? So then you're flying through, trying to get through them. But because you had sold through the first pallet, did you guys go a time without it then? Like trying to get the refill of like a new pallet?
No, by the time we realized it, we still had that new pallet.
Oh, yeah.
And so the new pallet was halfway gone and the old pallet was halfway gone.
Oh, no.
And so then we had half a pallet of the old stuff to try and get through. And then we still had it. But
well, that's good because, I think that's one of the things that we've talked about a number of times. And again, you understand this perfectly, but it's like that customers and people don't understand that it's like, hey, turnaround times aren't like 2 weeks on this stuff.
Yeah.
It's like you go through a whole new pallet and realize the other one's expiring. And you're like, oh, great. Now we have to like discount all this and it's going to be 4 or 5 months before we get it again.
Yeah. Oof. I've had some long waits before.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
Do your parents miss fitness equipment not expiring at all?
I think the fitness equipment stuff in 2020 really showed us the diversification because in 2020, the gyms were closed and people were buying fitness equipment.
Oh, yeah.
All of a sudden we were selling out, not of the treadmills, more of the free weight stuff.
Makes sense.
But we sold out all the plates, all the dumbbells, all the bars, all of the, the stuff that was not the huge items and stuff like that. And so all of a sudden we're like, oh, wait, wait a minute. We wanted to close this, but this is probably a smart thing to keep open.
I remember during COVID, like Facebook Marketplace for home gym stuff was crazy. It was like dumbbells were going for like $4 or $5 a pound.
Crazy. Yeah.
Like madness cost wise. And you're like, yeah, you want a home gym? Like come and get it. Like, oh gosh.
I remember when we sold them in the store for like 35 cents a pound.
Yeah.
Crazy. Years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. What is the average cost now anymore? I don't even know.
It's probably like $1.50.
Yeah. I remember it being about $1 for a while.
Yeah.
And then $1.50. But yeah, I remember during COVID, it was like, I got a 60-pound kettlebell, $400. Shit.
One of the gyms nearby, whenever I was building the home gym at one point, which ultimately I'm not a home gym person, even though we have the home fitness equipment and stuff. I like to go to the gym.
Yeah.
And I had found, a gym. I didn't know it was a gym on Craigslist. It was selling 45-pound plates for like 10 cents per pound or something like that.
Jeez.
I ended up, and it was the Genesis Health Clubs that was up in Wichita, and they were selling them. They were kind of rusty.
Yeah.
And I still got it.
I mean,
I was like, I can, 10 cents a pound. It was crazy.
Yeah.
So I got like 600 pounds for like $60.
Oh,
all 45s, for the most part.
Yeah. But still, oh my gosh.
Yeah. I think during 2020 they took some of those and they sanded them down, repainted them, and sold them.
Oh yeah. I'm sure. Yeah.
Dang. Now, do you still sell fitness equipment at the, okay.
Yeah. At that one location.
The one, right. And now did you guys like have inventory to work with during COVID? Or
with fitness equipment? Yeah, we couldn't get much in.
Yeah.
It was, anything especially that came from China. I mean, which is a lot of your weight plates and things like that. But so we sold through everything and we were trying to get more back in, but you couldn't get a lot.
I remember there's a friend of ours that worked at I think it's Johnson's that's across the highway from our Quail Springs location when we were in COVID.
Yeah.
So he worked there. They sold through all of their equipment and he would just come over and hang out at the store and he'd be like, we're closed. He's like, I'm like technically on shift, but we're closed because there's literally nothing in there.
Oh, Johnson, is it a retail store?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's one of the brands we sell. They just have their own retail stores.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. So Johnson Health has, I think it's Matrix and Vision and Horizon are the three brands they have.
Okay.
So you see Matrix sometimes in the gyms.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So this is a good question. Are you like, are you a machine buff? Like, do you like certain machines or anything like that?
Not really. I mean, if I do, it's the feel, the feel of machine, not so much the brand for the most part.
There's a gym here semi-locally. It's just south of the metro, that it's these guys and they're all great, but they go out and find like old Nautilus stuff, like whatever, and they restore it and then they put it in the gym. And the gym, it's called Trinity, and it's just filled with all these like old like 80s, 90s machines and stuff.
Yeah,
and so
that's cool.
It's a pretty cool place.
They rotate through a lot of equipment too, as they like bring new stuff in, refurbish, and then they'll trade or sell and bring other stuff in. So it's like a constantly rotating gym, which is really cool.
That is really cool. There was one in Fort Collins called Prodigy that I went to the same way. The guy goes and like finds the pieces of
pulling them out of garages and yards and whatever.
He had one that was a leg press machine where you could do single leg. And so it like you had a little attachment or something and you could switch to do single leg. And I was like, man, this is pretty cool.
They've got the tree house, as I like to call it.
I think it's the H squat. Like the one that's like you legitimately have to like climb a small ladder to get up, and it's like the weights are like down at the floor and you are legitimately like 6 foot up in the air and like pressing.
It's wild.
And it's the movement is like it moves like this.
Weird.
So,
yeah.
It's
I don't think I've ever used one of those.
There's something like 4 usable ones in the country or something like that. Yeah, it's like a super rare. But that's they all nerd out on it. It's just like and I get it. They go and just find this old stuff and
some of them just have better movement patterns.
Yeah,
they just feel better.
Well, and and it's from a time as well where like stuff was really well made. Like a lot of the stuff is like like chain ran and stuff that's like everything's sturdy as hell, like nothing's cheap on it.
Yeah.
And so it's like you can see, they take those suckers, clean them up, sandblast the hell out of them, repaint them and get going. And so it's pretty cool. It's a fun place to work out.
Very unique place, that's for sure.
Yeah, that would be cool.
So what's the origin story on Nutrithority then?
Nutrithority. So I was working in the store 2008 we started Nutrithority. I think the first product launched like mid 2014.
Okay.
Something like that. At the point, there'd been a lot of things that had happened. One of these, we'd been talking about a brand for a long time. We had played with pre-workouts, way back, when DMAA was kind of new. Yeah. And, if we had brought that out at that point in time, it probably would have been a good idea, but we didn't. And we waited and we had a lot of people like our Europa rep would be like, oh, you guys don't want to start your own brand. Oh, we've seen other companies do that. It's always bad news. And so shouldn't have listened to him, but we did for a while.
Yeah.
Until it was me and my brothers that were, pushing, hey, let's do this. We could do this. We could do this. And at the time I was doing bodybuilding stuff. My first show was 2008. And then a few years later, I started coaching people for bodybuilding shows and had a team of bodybuilders and things like that called 316 Fit. And that one I think that coinciding with me working at the store kind of gave us the perfect opportunity to start the brand for the most part. And so we had started looking for manufacturers and trying what are the products that we're going to bring out. And we just started with the protein, chocolate and vanilla for the most part. But, you guys have seen this, but maybe not as much, but there was just so many products that we recommended that were just bullshit. Didn't have the ingredients that they talked. I know there's one going around right now that's a protein company that people are talking about testing out, right?
Yeah, we were talking about that at that meeting this morning.
That creatine from back in the day was cryogenically frozen. Obviously, that produces 316% more muscle growth than regular creatine. That's why it's $86.
Yeah.
Muscle Tech.
Exactly. Kind of was burning when you drank it.
Right. We cryogenically frozen. What the hell are you talking about?
Like black matter or something like that. I don't remember. That was some HP. I don't remember.
I wish I remember the pre-workout name or anything about it, but I remember getting a pre-workout one time that was like, the whole deal was like, it's got like menthol added to it. It was like minty on the way down. And it was like, I remember that being like a big thing. I think it was like their competitive way of like, we're going to do something like beta-alanine, but not beta-alanine. I don't know.
How weird.
Yeah.
No, there was one brand we had recommended for years. I was pretty young for this one. And my dad loved it. They had like a Belgian chocolate and a cinnamon vanilla flavor, and he was just obsessed. And all of a sudden we get a new shipment in, and the whole thing tastes different. And you're just like, what's going on here? And so he actually took boxes home. Like, we had back stock, and he's like, I'm going to take all the good stuff home. Well, you figure out that the reason was they had half the protein in there. And half it was sure. Half might be giving him a little too much on the protein. Right. You know what I mean? And so they got caught, and so they had to change their formulas and things like that.
Easier to flavor when you don't have to add that much protein.
100%. It tastes way better.
Yeah.
Right? And so there's just all sorts of those situations. Pre-workouts that had, Adderall in them, and fat burners that had, Meridia in there. And all of them, quote unquote, contaminated, not spiked, and, accidental and things. But somehow it was the perfect ingredient for all these products. And so that was part of it, So part of it, of course, there's opportunity, business wise. You see an opportunity, that's part of it. The other side of it, we wanted a brand that we could trust.
Amen.
And something that when we push, recommendations and we're like, hey, this is something we recommend, it's not something that's going to come back and bite us in the ass.
Right.
And that was a big part of it, because we'd recommended and built up brands throughout the store. And then you see them either, do something terrible with their brand, lie on the label, stab you in the back, whatever it is.
Right.
And so it was like, we're putting all this effort in there. Let's build something that we're proud of, something that we want to use. And so part of it will
always be that way.
And will always be the way that we want it to be. They won't change it out from under us.
Right.
They won't change a formula that we know is a big seller. It's like an InnoExplode would come out with the new version, but why'd they change it?
Oh, yeah. C4's on its like 84th iteration.
Why? I'm sure there's a reason marketing wise, but for your customers in a retail store, they like to know that they're getting the same thing again and again and again. And
that reminds me, we went and visited a manufacturer this was when we were on the hunt for new manufacturing for Define. And this was years ago. And we had gone into this manufacturer, and we're sitting down, and we're kind of explaining, because we're really into, we're big into transparency, and we're like, we want to list out, the levels of each protein that you're getting per, and the owner, I remember him sitting there looking at us and goes, why? You don't have to do that. And we're like, we know. And he's like, but like, what happens if you want to drop your quality but like keep your price the same?
Yeah, what if whey isolate goes up but concentrate isn't as much, and you can't change that amount without people knowing?
And they're like, yeah, dude, that's the whole fucking point. Like, and he's like, no, you guys just aren't understanding. Like, you don't have to do that. You could do whatever you want. And we're like, oh yeah, we're definitely in the right place, right, guys?
We've seen that actually.
Hell out of here.
We've been in that game. Yeah, we understand. How funny.
Yeah. So was there initially was the goal for you to take that on, or was that something that just kind of developed over time? Or?
Yeah, there really wasn't. I mean, it was Jason and I, because we were in Wichita. We're probably the ones that were the most in charge of Nutrithority. And at one point in time, I was working it more than anybody else. And I would come up with the formulas probably more often, just simply because I was more interested, I think, in it more than anybody else, because I did the bodybuilding stuff. Neither one of my brothers did. I was very interested in supplements. Customers would come in the store and they'd ask a question, and I didn't know the ingredient or something. I'd just go to the computer and I'd look it up and learn about it. And so that was just kind of how I, educated myself throughout the years on it. And so I'd come up with formulas, but at one point in time, I was kind of trying to make the calls and trying to do the stuff. And then eventually 2016, which was a few years, we built it up in our own store for a couple years, and just feedback and how people liked it and things like that. And 2016, I went full time. And
really?
So
okay.
I went full time right after we got the warehouse.
Yeah.
And that was right around that time, 2016, 2017, went full time. And I was like, guys, you don't have to pay me. I'll just pay myself based off of the sales of the company.
Okay.
So that way we're not taking a risk. Right. I'll take all the risk. Let me do it. I put myself in some great credit card debt for a few, all my savings was gone. And then I started racking the credit cards up and switching credit cards because one has 0% for 6 months and the next one has 0% for 6 months or something. Right. So I did that for a few months until things could start supporting my income at that point in time. So it took a little while on that, but
That's so did you guys so how many locations did you have when Nutrithority was first launched?
Probably 4.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe 5.
So the stores have grown a decent amount.
Yeah,
since
we've been opening quite a few.
Gotcha.
I mean, Colorado Springs, probably all 3 Colorado Springs locations in the last 4 years.
Gotcha.
Something like that.
You mean you didn't want to open your first store and launch an entire line of supplements at the same time?
We might have.
Don't do that.
It's a bad idea.
I wonder who would have ever have done that.
That was too much.
That was too much to do at once. Too much.
Yeah. We launched.
It's the hard things that make it worthwhile.
Amen.
Right? So
we've got some funny looking labels to go back to.
like everybody does.
We realized like how much time and attention to detail we should spend with each individual product. Like we knew what made good formulas. We knew what made good products in a number of categories. So we got a big loan when we first started and we're like, hey, I think this would do really well if we dedicated a lot to this or allocated a lot of this to our own brand. Yep. And we launched, I think 12 SKUs right off the bat. And
cause fuck it.
Trying to do
Might
that.
As well, right? Yeah.
All within a 3-month period, trying to create 12 different SKUs and launch a store in a brand new city where we knew nobody. It's just impossible to have the attention to detail with just 3 guys. So we ended up with things like pre-workout and a 2-pound tub of protein.
Really?
And this is before like the mega pre-workouts were popular. So some would say it's ahead of its time.
Yeah, that's a way to look at it.
Yeah, that's right.
But it was like when like all the like jacked size tubs were was pre-workout size tubs, and ours showed up like that, and we're like, nobody's gonna know what this is. We even had somebody that won one at a competition, thought it was protein, so he was taking it after his workout. So,
really? Wow.
Bad news.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
But we did scale back to 3 SKUs. Like we let the things that were like, they didn't end up the way they were good quality, but they just didn't have the particulars that we wanted right off the bat. We scaled those back down to just a few SKUs, really focused on those, and then have built it just 1 SKU at a time since.
Hey, calm seas don't make good sailors,
That's true.
That's right.
That's true.
We had to go through the storms.
Absolutely.
I'm a little smarter because of that.
A little bit.
I know what not to do.
Yeah.
That's half the game, I think, right there.
Amen. Amen.
Yeah. So 4 locations, going over to Nutrithority the full time.
Yep.
Was there a lot of effort put into growing that outside of Supplement Giants at that point, or
not until I went full time?
Okay.
Yeah. At that point in time, there was the effort to grow outside of Supplement Giant. And that was probably mostly 2016, 2017 for the most part. It's really when that got started.
Was that more wholesale or direct to consumer?
More wholesale, and a direct to consumer came in there probably a year or 2 later.
Okay.
And at a certain point in time, I was kind of trying to weigh the difference between the two, retail versus direct to consumer. And it's a hard comparison. Right. They're just 2 different ball games.
Big time.
And so you're trying
one takes a lot of marketing, one gets not great margins.
100%. And so you're playing this game like, how many calls can I make versus what can my marketing look like? And so we've teetered back and forth with the two. I've never like hardcore gone into, like, I've got a sales guy that's doing my wholesale stuff and things like that now, which helps tremendously. I'm not doing it. I'm okay at it, but I'm not the guy for that stuff.
You could be the right person for the job for sure.
Yeah. I mean, it's just a person that likes to talk to people every day, all day long.
Yeah. Somebody who's just like, I am willing to get kicked in the nuts.
100%.
53 times a day.
Over and over again.
365 days a year, brother.
And you'll hear the opposite things. Somebody, your labels are awesome. I love it. Oh, I hate your labels.
Right.
Whatever it is.
This is the best product. This is the worst product.
Yeah, this is crap. You guys don't have anything good. Like, okay.
I don't know what to do with this polarizing feedback.
Yes, 100%.
Would you like a kick in the nuts? We can offer that.
You can't have a knee-jerk reaction to
No.
this. Otherwise, you're just going to keep going back and forth.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. 100%. Yeah, you got to stick to the things that make make you great, or what you make you, or what you believe make you great. And so, have you had success with one or the other, direct to consumer?
We've had success in both ways. Nothing crazy though. Okay. You know, we're not a huge brand for the most part, and I'm not. Like I said, we're out there.
You're big brand and Triad.
Oh, I appreciate that.
You're a big brand and Triad.
There's just, you see these monster brands out there, right?
Hey, man,
that's
right.
the difference.
Dude, this is, sorry to catch you up, but we always, there's like a couple of brands in the store where it's always that, like, if they make it, it's good.
Yeah.
And customers have really come across and like to understand that, where they're like, hey, you know, I've been using this for a long time. So like, and hey, you know, if they make it, it's good kind of thing. And you guys easily fall into like, if we're making 3 recommendations on any handful of products, Nutrithority makes most of them.
That's awesome. I appreciate that.
You guys are very popular.
I appreciate that.
You guys do awesome.
We are. I agree with you. Like, I'm not gonna release it if it's not a good product. Right. You know, like, it's got to taste good. It's got to mix well. It's got to have a good formula. We're very strict on all of those. Like, the taste is close, but not there. I'm like, you know, these days it's got to taste great.
Dude, it has to.
Mm-hmm. That's a big thing in our stores as well. It's like, it's really funny when people ask like, oh, you know, this Define product, is it good? And it's like, well, like, I'm extremely biased. So right. You have to understand, like, why would we create something that we thought was like, we're going to shoot for the second best in this category.
Exactly.
So,
it's funny too, because, you know, and obviously, and you've been in this longer than we have, but it's like, I remember the days of taking Isomass Extreme Gainer that tasted like, tasted like dirt and old water. It was terrible. It was the worst thing I've ever had in my life.
Yep.
And I choked that thing down every day, just like I was supposed to. And then how many tubs of old muscle milk I went, all of it, you know what I mean? Yep. And then now it's like, I want a fruity isolate, but it's kind of foamy. And you're like,
the foam. Yeah, I know.
You're like, well, that's called science. So I don't know what you want me to do.
They have no idea what it was like. Right. No idea.
I'm coming up with a new idea here. We're going to do a history of supplements experience.
Oh, yeah.
This will be our spring event compared to our fall event with Sample Triad. Yeah. It will be protein powder over the years, or maybe a different product category every year.
Yep.
And we start with, you know, some of the very first protein powders of like, hey, if you're new to supplements, we'll take you through this experience.
Through the years.
You got to try the worst protein powder imaginable first.
Right.
And then you never have to do that one again. But now you know where it started.
Yeah,
and you have an appreciation for everything else.
Science. It should be like, I'm going to take this glass of milk and I'm going to squeeze lemon juice into it. Watch what happens. Funny how we can't make that not happen.
Right. I had a guy come into one of our stores one time and he brought me this old canister. It was like a paint canister of Bob Hoffman's protein, right? You had to peel the top off with like a screwdriver.
Yeah, that kind of wow. Now we're talking.
And he's like, what do you give me for this? And I was like, it's not worth anything.
Yeah.
But I'll give you a discount so I can put it on my shelf.
Yeah.
And so I gave him a discount and I put it's still up there. And so it's from like the 50s or something like that. Old medical container. It's all soy. Just soy and corn syrup solids and things like that. It's just terrible. There's still powder in there. I'm sure you could try it out.
Remember when Quick Mass used to come in the like 5-gallon bucket that literally had to like click the sides around?
I bought a lot of those.
A ton of them, man. That's so back. Yeah. When, that's so, like, no wonder they switched to bags. How expensive did that have to
be? Crazy.
Yeah, buckets. Like to make a 5-gallon, like you could reuse this bucket, like
for paint.
Like literally, they were paint like big 5-gallon like paint buckets.
I think they were still in the buckets when I was in stores.
Oh yeah,
So,
they were.
That's how they were when we were at supplement superstores.
Yeah. Oh man.
Now they switched to much more economical bags. So,
yeah, we had problems like the Serious Mass bags. They would send the Serious Mass bags, and then somebody would take a knife and open the box and just slide it right through the Serious Mass bag every time.
Yeah. I can't tell you. I wonder. I would love a count of how many bags of rice and grinds
I was just thinking rice and grinds
over the years.
Yes,
so many.
Yep.
I always end up taking those. So fingers crossed, it's the flavor I use.
Yeah,
so.
right.
There was a point in time we just put some tape over it, and we're like, this one's discounted. We cut it open.
Yeah, right. It's fine.
I have a bag of rice and grinds in my pantry right now that has a big knife
Yeah,
slice through it.
big old slab of tape over it.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
You know, your good customers that have been in for years, they're like, I don't care, I'll take it.
Yeah.
For a discount, okay.
Yeah, why not?
We do that with, especially when like there's like really popular energy drinks. Now there's so many of them, but like when like certain ones were really popping off, like we would get, some damaged cans from time to time.
From time to time.
Oh yeah.
And
You mean 12 of them every shipment?
Yep.
And it would be like we knew we were going to run out because we weren't even able to order enough. Like our whatever distributor would only send us so much because they only had so much.
Yeah.
So it was we had a limited amount, and we're like, we're going to sell through them. So like keep the damaged cans. So when we run out of the good ones, we at least have something. It's like, hey, we are out of the good cans. We have the damaged ones, but like so we at least have something. So it's like it's either this or nothing. So
Yeah, no, that's fair.
yeah. That's
Cans.
yeah.
I just love it. And I'm just like, oh, how many are going to be broken on this one? I can tell because this entire pallet is soaked,
Always.
soaking wet. This is going to be so much fun. I can't wait.
At least you got credit for them, all right?
Yeah. And I understand as somebody coming into a store, but people will be like, oh, this one's kind of dented. And I'll be like, yeah, I know. I know. And they're like, and I'm like, yeah, no, they come that way. Yeah.
Yep.
And they're like, really? And I'm like, yeah, well, when you open a box that's enough to fit 7 or 8 cases of drinks, but it's got 2 and a box of chips, and then no packing anything, no stuffing, no little airbag things, nothing. It's like, funny enough, every bag of chips is ruined and all of these cans are smashed. It's funny how that works.
Crazy. Yeah.
It's crazy.
Who would have seen that coming?
I know. And it's like only every
the
single
protein
time.
chips and the cans together.
Yep.
Yeah.
They love to do it.
Do you guys get a lot of people asking if you'll ever do energy drinks?
Every once in a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's never been on my mind for the most part. I imagine that's out of my ballpark for the most part. So
Just the space to store them.
my
I don't think
gosh.
people realize
No.
how much. I guess you can probably do some 3PL or have a manufacturer do some storage for you, but
You got to be worth their time.
yeah.
yeah, that's crazy.
That is one that like I've had a couple of friends over the years like reach out and be like, I think I'm gonna start an energy drink company. I've got my garage, and I'm like, how big's your garage? Is it 60,000 square feet? No? Well, you might be in trouble then.
Yeah. Oh man. People have no idea what they're getting into.
Yeah.
We still are probably those people. Still don't know what we're getting into.
Bite off a little bit more than we can chew sometimes, but
okay.
that's what we learn.
Got to do it, right?
So we opened a kitchen too. So we have a meal prep company.
Oh,
And so we went and found a meal prep company. It was a guy we were doing business with, and he brought us some meals. And so we're like, man, these are really good. And so on our mind, one, it's another thing we can offer our customers. You can buy your meals, your supplements, your energy drinks, all that stuff, right? And, it was diversification for the most part, opened us up into a different business. And we had the perfect avenue for it, with supplement stores. And so let's start this. And so we open a franchise, and the whole time we're like, all right, we're going to hire a chef before we ever start. Turns out we didn't have a chef. So we were there every weekend, for 6 months, cooking the meals,
that's fun, huh?
Yeah. Friday, I think it was Saturday cook day, Sunday contain day, it was like Friday prep day or something like that.
Yeah, you didn't get tired of meal prep at all, did you?
Yeah, no way.
Not at all.
Yeah.
So I haven't meal prepped since, actually.
Yeah.
Now that I have those meals, I just eat those.
Yeah.
So
Amen.
we started that. We actually bought 2 refrigerated vans, and they actually meet halfway to Colorado, and we swap the meals, and then they drive back. And so
Really?
yeah. And so we distribute them to our stores out there and stuff too.
Out in Colorado and everything. Interesting.
Yep.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
But we had no idea what we were getting into. So now we've got a good manager. He does a great job.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
It
Good
took-
part of the business, though.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
And it does great. I mean, we don't have to market it. And so that expense is gone.
Yeah.
That's probably why I didn't even know. Is that you don't even
We don't even have to tell you about it,
Yeah.
but you come in, we just have coolers at the stores.
That makes sense.
We just grab and grow containers. If you want a meal, grab it. We've got a microwave, heat it up, and you can eat it, or you can order in advance. We'll deliver it or pick it up.
We've seen a lot more of that, especially I feel like with the expansive energy drinks. Like we just added second fridges into all of the stores, and it's like, I understand. Like we've been into like some of the newer locations of like supplement superstores and stuff when we toured. And it's like, dude, they got like 7 fridges in there.
Yeah.
And it's like, they're just filling it with like grab and go, ready to eat meals or, kind of whatever. Like I get it.
They've got meals, clothing, drinks, and supplements, right? Is there anything else that I'm not? They got
Smoothies at some locations.
I think
soft serve.
I think they've already they keyed in on it pretty early that the industry's changing and shifting, and there's so much online business they have to figure out how to get ahead of it. And that was one of ours was convenience. I mean, convenience versus Amazon. How do you compete? Well, if you have a meal option,
right,
that's more convenient than Amazon,
right?
Maybe they'll buy their supplements here,
right,
while they get meals. No, it's actually completely different sets of customers. People that buy the meals don't seem to buy the supplements. People that buy the supplements don't seem to buy the meals. People that buy the supplements don't seem to buy treadmills.
Yeah,
so it's like
funny. That's
all different people.
Dude, we'd put meals in the fridges and it'd just be bought by employees.
There's a lot of that.
Just be bought by the employees.
And I was thinking about that too because you started talking about meals. I was like, man, maybe you could hit a different demographic and get them coming in and buying more supplements. So it's interesting to hear that they're totally separate because that's not what I would have assumed. So.
No, we assumed that the people that were buying supplements would buy the meals, and there are some, of course. There's crossover, but there's a lot of people that just come in to buy the meals. Don't mess with supplements.
Isn't it so funny? It's so frustrating, but it's so funny that it's like you can have a home gym supplement food prep store, right? And it's 3 sets of customers.
Completely
it's 3
different
totally
customers.
different sets.
Yep.
It's like the old, like we always talked about. It's like people think like I'm going to open a supplement store. I should be right next door to that gym. And you're like, it doesn't really work that way. Like, I don't know why. Yeah. Or do gyms sell a lot of supplements? And it's like,
not really.
Yeah, not really.
Yeah.
Why? Couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense in my head. Like it should be a very lot. Like I get it's not what you're there for, but like eventually you'd think you'd make it what you're there, part of why you're there. Like,
I'm here. I might as well grab them anyway.
I'm right here.
Right.
It makes so much logical sense, but it's just like humans just don't work that way. I don't know why.
But I think that goes to show that like we've seen other businesses do this and I think we've even been at fault of this before in the past is if we add this aspect to our business, we've already got these customers. It'll just, add to our current business. And it's like, no, that is a whole new business that you're looking at. Like, are you prepared? Like, are you able to handle your current business right now? Because if you're spreading yourself thin there, you're going to spread yourself even more thin by trying to add this on. And so that's interesting. It's really interesting to hear on the food prep side of things because like I even continue to make the mistake of like, oh, that would be a really nice addition. Right. So no,
it was business. The long term effect is a good difference.
Right.
We've got income from that business separately. That was especially during COVID was solid.
Nice.
Oh, sure.
Nice. And so that did really well for us in certain periods of time.
Genuinely diverse though.
Genuinely diverse. Yeah. Right. It's definitely there's crossover, but not as much as you'd think.
Yeah. That is honestly kind of the thought behind we added again that second fridge to all the locations was kind of that mindset. I think there's I guess I don't know because I'm not in stores much anymore. You maybe could tell me better. But
usually
is the idea of like continuing to offer because there's so many energy drinks these days. And I'm sure you really got to see it because when we started, there were no energy drinks in the fridge at supplement superstores. It was protein RTDs and pre-workout RTDs.
Yeah, and they had to take away. They had Monsters when I very first started, and they had to take those away because employees were drinking them and not paying for them.
Still a problem.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Who did that?
I think we had the ABB Speed Stack.
Yeah, we had those.
Yep. Then all Holy Bang came out.
Oh yeah.
And then the world was changed forever.
Yeah. Did you guys ever carry Spike?
No, we were just starting when those were kind of popular, and I saw them other places, but we never had a lot of people coming in asking.
We didn't really have many people. It was mostly an employee favorite, and when it's an employee favorite, it turns into like everybody's.
It was like we had S2, we had Bangs and Red Lines, and that was like. Yeah, and then that definitely fed into the caffeine addiction of all the employees.
Yeah,
definitely.
But yeah, that was honestly kind of the idea about like really feeding into the change in the industry of there being, it going from, when we first started, legitimately no energy drinks in the fitness space to now we've got how many?
I could, if you counted each individual flavor as like one unit, we probably got 85 plus, maybe 100.
Crazy.
So crazy.
But just being a place where we've got all the options. Yeah. So, when you're grabbing your energy drink, if you come in one time grabbing it and you end up needing some protein powder, hopefully the spot for you.
So what's going to be the next area, right? Because so you saw energy drinks boom,
yeah,
and I think they're going to keep booming for the most part. But the Bang days are over. You know, the Bang. We used to have people coming in with the new Bang flavors out, like they buy a case, or whatever it was,
unicorn blood,
but then we saw greens really took over. You know, and that wasn't a big thing until
wasn't at all
2010, somewhere in there, 2016, something like that, and then. Hydration products, electrolytes have become a big one. So like, what's the next area? So I can get I'm going to come into these at the end of it. I'm going to make a greens product after it's popular. I'm going to make it. You guys already have the hydration product. If I made one, it's already hitting its peak, stuff like that. So I haven't messed with anything like that, but what's our next area?
We were, I do genuinely feel like we were ahead of the curve on hydration.
Yeah.
And, well, I don't know if we're going to strike another one.
Yeah.
What is the?
We saw a big surge in popularity with a brand called Replay.
Yeah.
So which was they're still around. We still carry them and everything. But I think they ended up kind of selling to some other places and changing pricing a little bit and made it tough for us. But we really leaned on that. I mean, kind of talking about brand life cycle. I think we saw how popular that brand got, especially with like the endurance community, and we were selling a lot of it. And it was like that was the only brand that was being sold, and it was like within that category, the only one that we really even knew of. So, and I don't even know if a lot of the other anyone else in the industry was really focusing on that, but it was big in Oklahoma City. And then when they kind of started to switch things up, it was like, we just need to do our own because, we're going to potentially, it's a brand we can trust. So I think we had a little bit of insight on that of like, we just kind of got lucky on having a brand in that category that preceded us a little bit, and gave us a little bit of a heads up in that. So, next big thing.
We're seeing a lot of clear proteins.
I've seen
That's
I feel like
one.
I'm right at the edge of like, if I do that one right now, I'm going to be at the end again.
I think so too. Because I think what's happening is people are getting the clear proteins and it's not what they're expecting.
No,
they're expecting juice.
Yeah.
And it's like, I explain this to people all the time and I try to make it funny as a way, but this is how I truly feel about clear protein is they're like, so it's like juice, right? And I'm like, kind of. And they're like, well, what's it like? And I'm like, imagine you filled a glass full of milk and then you drank that milk, but you didn't wash the glass out and then you poured a Gatorade in there.
That's pretty accurate, actually.
Like
that's pretty good.
It's got like, it tastes like Gatorade, but it's like, there was milk in this glass before, though, right?
Something's off here, for sure.
Like there was still something left, but it's not a lot. But you're like, this is off.
That's pretty good, actually. I had a manufacturer send me one of his, and I didn't request it. It was just like a private label that he already makes or something. And so I tried the sample, and I'm like, it's just got that aftertaste.
It's got something.
It's got that aftertaste where it's just.
Do you question? There. And you might know. Do you know what they do to make it clear? I don't either. This is so funny. I was having a conversation with a customer about this, and I'm like, as if there's not like a plethora of people that I could ask this question to that could answer it, but I just haven't done it. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what they do.
I haven't looked into it either.
Well, and I'm like curious too, because like you're seeing more and more like popular, like regarded brands that like hold quality at a super high level. And so it's like, okay, because for a while you were like, well, what does this do to the protein? Like, is this protein still intact? But now you're seeing like, okay, reputable brands are coming out with like really reputable brands coming out with it. And you're like, okay, that gives me more.
About how it's processed a little bit more.
Yeah, like giving like those are showing me that it's like, I don't think they would come out with a, like a ruined protein. Hopefully they wouldn't come out with a ruined protein. And I don't think they would. So it's like, what in the world? Like, how do they do this? What is the process that makes this? Again, as if I don't have like a number of people on my phone I can literally text and ask this question to, but I'm gonna keep living in a mystery. So.
But you remember those old Isopure bottles, the glass ones, right?
Yeah, right.
It's still the same aftertaste.
Right.
That's that same texture, aftertaste. It's not, that hadn't changed, at least from what I've tried.
No, it's still
proteins.
there.
Yeah.
It's still there for sure. It's just very, that's the best way I can describe it. And customers are like, what? And I'm like, yeah, I mean, it's not bad. You know what I mean? Like, it's really, if you want to change up a things, like, it's really not bad at all. And they're like, does it foam? And I'm like, it does. Yeah. It's good if it foams a lot.
The one that did, I haven't tried a lot of clear proteins, but I feel like the one that did it well was Core, the orange cream, because the cream complements.
That's how you have to do
the milk left over in the glass.
That makes sense.
You should, you got to be smart about, well, and I think even like, Formula One being something that kind of like wasn't clear, but like blurred the lines of being like a fruity isolate that wasn't milky. Even they were you could tell they were strategic about most of their flavors. Orange dreamsicle, key lime pie, like those kind of things that like, okay, when this has this hint of like milk in the glass, like it works.
Play into it.
Yeah, it works. You can play into it a little bit better, and it's not like, whoa, what's going on with this? You know?
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I had a client once that took was it cherry lime Formula One? She said it was the cherry drink of death. And she didn't use ignition with it. I think that's the difference.
They have to
have the ignition.
They have to have the ignition because like and that's like and that's a tough like situation to be in. Like when you are very much recommending post-workout high glycemic carbs, if you sweeten your protein fully, well, now you're in a sticky situation, no pun intended, but it's like now you're kind of in a sticky situation of like, how do I, because now it's going to be really sweet, or it's definitely, I think about that quite a bit because like we've had a number of people be like, oh, I don't like Formula One. And I'm like, I love Formula One's delicious. Like Formula One's bomb. And I'd be like, what were you using? Did you use like post-workout carbs at all? And they're like, no. And I'm like, well, like that's why. You know what I mean? Like, it's definitely going to add like it's going to be a totally different flavor. But
100%, you can't mix that up without the carbs in there.
It's not worth it.
That's
some
how
of the flavors are okay.
I would go up to the First Form guys when they're sampling it out at like an event or something. I'd be like, "What's in this?" Oh, just Formula One. I'm like, "Are you sure it's just Formula One? Are you sure this is just Formula One? It tastes a little too good to be true."
It's like Formula One and stevia packets. Right.
So what do you think will be the next big thing?
Ooh, that's a tough one, man. I don't know.
If we
I don't know if I could ever,
right?
Yeah, I can never see the trend coming. I only see them at the very end, and I'm like, oh, that was a trend. Okay.
Well, you see this like really interesting thing too, where you saw a lot of those like plant steroidals, like things get really popular for a while, and then those often to nothingness, and now we're seeing this big boom of peptides being everywhere, prescribed by everybody, and then it's like, okay,
that's bad news right there.
Yeah, I agree. And it's like, and now we're starting to like, whoa, okay, like it's interesting that these things that used to have to get on some sketchy website in like Western Union, like I've
done that a few times.
Yeah, we've all, like I'm not gonna say I haven't been there myself before, right? I've Western Union India a couple of times.
Kiev, Ukraine was my first one.
Yeah, right, exactly. And you're just like, fingers crossed this shows up. Like
exactly.
I've been there, but now it's like you're starting to see this thing where, not to get like too much on a tangent on this, but like. I think we see a lot of parallels between the like from a doctor standpoint, and there's great doctors. It's just like anything. There's great doctors and there's bad doctors, I'm sure. But it's like I think we're seeing the peptides hit into the same realm as we're seeing like the undereducated like TRT like prescriptions where people are coming in. I can't tell you how many people I talk to on a weekly basis that are on TRT, and I'm like, okay, my first question is like, what's your dose frequency? And they're like, oh, I take a shot a month. And I'm like,
yikes.
And I'm like,
doctor recommended right there.
Right. So, and you're like, I understand that there's no, I guess, required continued education. But I think when you have this, and again, there's great doctors, but it's like when you have this like blind faith that like my doctor told me to do it, it has to be good. It has to be healthy. It has to be exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. Well, now we're starting to see like this boom of peptides, which are even less understood, be introduced into this as well. And it's like, you could go to a doctor, a subpar doctor, I should say, who's going to give you 100 milligrams of testipionate once a month. And, oh yeah, your knees hurt and here's some BPC and like you want to lose some weight, like here's some semaglutide. And you're like, you're doing great, right? Yep. And you're just like, what is happening? Like, this is nobody involved in this situation knows what they're doing at all.
Well, and I'm really curious, like BPC, I have a bunch of friends that swear by it, right? And of course, I was in the bodybuilding realm, so like they'll try anything.
Yeah, right.
Time, right. And I wasn't too far off. But now I look at it and I'm like, what's that going to do to you? What's the real side effects here? Because there's no side effects. Like, what is the side effect?
Right.
Yeah.
And
Don't tell me there's no side effects.
Yeah.
I'm a little cautious on this stuff.
Yeah, you remember
now.
for like the first like 3 or 4 years, people were like, you don't need to PCT on SARMs. And you're like, oh, fun fact. Yeah, you'd fucking
Of course.
do.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. And you're like, wait a minute. Like, no, these are pretty testosterone suppressive. Like,
Anything that'll shut you down, you got to do it afterwards.
right. Well, and it's super interesting though, because I think you're seeing this like whole realm of things, and like obviously those are super, super popular, but you're seeing this whole realm of things that are just like wildly popular and used. And yeah, there's a lot of positive benefits, obviously, but at the same time, like, well, if we don't know, we don't know.
True.
What we're kind of looking at for the long term.
There is a trend in bodybuilding in the supplement industry, and it's all these guys that seem to go into that gray area seem to do well. You know, like if you're willing to risk it all, go in, like if it was pro hormones back when pro hormones were out, like those brands are huge. Cellucor was a pro hormone brand. Yeah. You know, they got C4 everywhere now, but they were making pills in the back of their store. Yeah.
I didn't know that. Interesting.
Yeah. They were in the back of their store putting pills together by, a hand press or whatever it was and making pro hormones. And that's how they started.
Wow.
And so,
now they're in Walmart.
Don't sue me if I'm wrong. I could be wrong.
Yeah, right.
But that's how I think allegedly.
Blackstone explode with their
They weren't able to make the transition though.
No, they were not. But you look at a lot of these, even old school brands, Gaspari, that was a pro hormone brand with Haladrol. You look at VPX was a pro hormone brand before Bang, that was VPX, was Jack's company was VPX. And so that had your red line drinks turns into Bang, and so there's just a massive amount of these brands that are willing to play this gray area, DMAA and DMHA being the most recent out of those. Right. Like if you're willing to put DMAA and DMHA into your pre-workout in the last 3 or 4 years, like you're probably going to be in 150 retailers just for a pre-workout.
Yeah, right.
If you just got DMHA. Now those companies that didn't have a plan on transitioning are now hurting really badly.
Yeah. You mean those SARM companies that are under their like third slightly changed logo?
Yeah. But it makes you look at it and you're like, man, maybe I should be shady and do some gray area stuff. You know what I mean?
But have a plan to get out at least.
But have a plan, build up a company on the side, whatever it is. But
get some cash and some distribution behind you a little bit. But
there's still, SARM companies. Now, I don't know about you guys. We didn't carry SARMs. We didn't carry pro hormones or anything like that. We actually had one of the guys that it was the Axis Labs guy. He had another brand for pro hormones, and we were carrying them on our shelves, like from multiple companies at this time, 2014, something like that. And he gets hit with some sort of fine from the government for selling it.
Whoa.
And it was like $500,000. And he's like, got it lawyered up and everything. And he's like, take the deal. He's like, if you don't take this deal, they're going to come after you way harder for, I think they said it was mail fraud, shipping them across from one state to another.
Whoa.
And so they were going to get him with something way bigger. And he didn't even sell that much. In turn, he wouldn't sell $500,000 in product, I don't think.
Whoa.
And so he told us about it. And I think he had Superdrol in there at that point in time and stuff. And so we pulled everything off of our shelves.
Well, in that case, we don't have anything and never have and never will. So,
but for that reason, we just haven't ventured into anything in that area.
Yeah,
but that's the SARMs game is a good game to be in. In terms of
when it comes to making that decision too, I think a situation that happens is not even necessarily from like a money standpoint either, but you start looking at. You cold call a place that carries them and you say, hey, how do I do this correctly?
Yeah.
And they say, oh, you just got to take it. Or, we have people come in all the time from another place that's like, because of the margins. I know the game. It's because of the margins where this particular place is telling people to take, RAD and LGD and then PCT with Osterine.
Oh, of course.
And you're like, yeah, that's how that works.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, no, that's like the recommended. And it's like, and I know this human knows better, right? But, when you're making X amount of margin on Austrian, X amount of margin on a PCT. You might as well tell them the Austrian's the PCT.
Right.
And so you get into this like awkward situation too, when you like are the good guys or trying to be the good guys of like, it's like, okay, kids, if you're going to drink in our basement, right. We can watch over you.
It's true.
Give me your keys. None of you are fucking leaving. Like, let me watch over you. At least here's a safe place that like you're going to get, contained.
True.
Like you're going to get told correct information. You're going to whatever.
Yeah.
But it's like, because otherwise you're out drinking, doing whatever.
You're not going to be recommended to be taking shot after shot on
right. Exactly.
Doing beer
If
bongs
things get a little too rowdy, we're going to slow it down. We're going to stop it. Hey, you know what? You're drunk, you're somewhere, you can call me and I can tell you to abandon ship.
Yes.
You know what I mean? But it's like, and you get into this really like interesting moral dilemma that happens there too, because it's like, they're going to fucking do it. Right.
Of course.
It's like, I can, as much as we talk at people, tell them not to, a lot of people are going to do it. Right.
And so they're going to go to your competitor to do it.
Right. Mm-hmm. Who's going to tell them how to, they're going to, and age doesn't matter to them over there. That's for sure. Nope. Yep. It's, how old are you? Oh, so that guy was having you buy it for your son? Oh, how old's your son? Oh, he's 15? Oh, cool. When did he turn 15? Oh, 3 weeks ago? Yeah, we love that. Yeah, perfect.
I had a guy come in one time with his son. He was 14 and he wanted to buy Super Draw at the time. And I was just like, man, I do not recommend this.
No.
This is terrible for your child. This will mess up his hormones. Yeah. Everything is wrong about
Here's
this.
a summer of high testosterone for a lifetime of low.
100%.
Enjoy it.
Every warning, he's like, well, his football buddies are doing it. I'm like, well, they're wrong.
Right.
I'm telling you, do not do this.
Right.
Well, will you sell it to me? You're an adult, man. I will sell it to you if you want it. It's your child. It's your choice.
Right.
You do what you want to do. He bought it. I warned him. I was like, man, I do not recommend this.
This is a bad choice. Yeah. It's always the guys trying to beef up their sons for football too.
It's crazy, isn't it? Yeah. Mm-hmm. There was one whole school that was taking M-Draw. It was Andale up near Wichita. And it was like everybody on it was taking it.
They going to state that year?
Yeah, I think they did. they did pretty good. Yeah. They did pretty good. And I think that was half the push for them to keep taking it. I'm sure these guys were not taking any time off. This was M-Draw. They're probably taking it for 4 months straight.
Yeah. PCT, never heard of her.
No PCT. Gyno on all of them.
That's the thing is like, I'll look at a kid and either I'm talking to him in the gym or whatever, and they'll be like, well, my buddies are taking it and they say that they don't have any problems. And I go, right. Dude, no, for sure. Like, also, just a heads up, Russian roulette's a safe game for 5 out of 6 people.
That's
just
a good point.
That's a good point. You still want to be the sixth guy.
True.
Right?
Yeah, very true.
Because that'll happen.
Yeah, 100%.
Oh, man.
Yeah, you can't fight against them. If they want to do it, it is right. You should, at least give them some good guidance on how to do it. This is the safe way.
Age restrict and do the things.
Yeah, we were always, when we had pro hormones, we were carding everybody.
Amen.
If you looked anything close to 18, hey man, I got to see your driver's license.
Yeah.
But they would figure it out. It's just like buying alcohol. You just go get a buddy to buy it for you.
Oh yeah.
So.
Yeah. It's the
seniors.
I need Rad 140.
Yeah.
You're like, okay.
Yep. I'd be like, dude, just go get on the internet. You can find better stuff.
Yeah. Have you heard of Western Union?
Nowadays, you can probably use Bitcoin or something.
I think I've heard.
That is probably
when I saw Bitcoin come out, I was like, man, this is going to be the best way to buy drugs. If only I had known this was an investment opportunity at the same time. I was like, man, when I buy drugs, that's going to be so easy. And then I never saved any Bitcoins. So should have. Yeah.
What is it? There was like some kind of giveaway. I forget what it was. It was like the first place won like $300. Second place won like $150. Third place won like 250 Bitcoin. Really? Because this was like right when Bitcoin first came out. It's like, that would be worth like $7 million.
Crazy. Yeah.
It was like, who was, I forget what rapper, I think it was 50 Cent. Forgot that like he for one album on his website accepted like PayPal, like normal like credit card stuff, and then Bitcoin was like another option that they just like whatever, like do Bitcoin. And it was like something like 12,000 Bitcoin that he had no idea, that he like realized that he had. And he's like, oh, this is great.
He sold one album back in the day.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I know. How nuts.
Hey, but then there's the other side of things where it was like, what was the other stuff? The monkey picture crap.
Oh, what was that called?
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Where people were like, you're spending millions of dollars to
on
get
the digital art.
Art of exactly. That's my point. People are spending $1 million. You don't even we can't even remember what it's called.
I remember. I know what you're talking about though.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. It was
like each one had some sort of, crypto built in, so it was the original or something, right?
But it's mine. And you're like,
but I can screenshot this.
Right. But people can screenshot your bank account. That doesn't mean they have the money. And I'm like, yeah, right. But like,
they can't spend it though.
Right.
So.
It's a whole different ballgame when you're conducting digital here.
Yeah. It's like
the Mona Lisa is different, but
I'm like, it's something. If I can't make sense of it at all, there's probably not where I should be putting my money.
Yeah. 100%.
So anything new, either product wise or even just like opportunity wise for Nutrithority coming up? Anything you guys are working on right now?
I'll spill the beans to you guys. I got a reality TV show I'm going to be on.
What?
Yeah, this company last year sometime emailed me, filled out a contact form on my website, and they're like, "Hey, we're part of this reality TV show. We're interested in Nutrithority." And I'm like, "Oh, this is bullshit.
Yeah, right.
You guys are scammers." And so
we've gotten that email before.
Yeah. And so I emailed them. I think I emailed them back, and then they emailed me back and set up a time. And so they jumped on the phone with me and interviewed me real quick. And they're like, "Yeah, I'm the person interviewing for the talent agent or whatever it is." And so went through the process, and turns out it's a business show where you bring your company on the show and you sign your whole business up for crowdfunding. And so instead of going on the stock market, you're going to a crowd like Kickstarter kind of thing,
right.
where everybody can buy a percentage of your company, but they buy a Class B non-voting share of your stock. And so I had to go through the SEC and file this Form C with the SEC, and I didn't do it. I didn't know what I was doing. Yeah. But we had to. We had to. The team and set up this whole thing for crowdfunding. And so the whole idea is you go on the show. It's kind of like a Shark Tank show, but you're not negotiating how much they're going to buy for a percentage. You're just basically showing and pitching your brand and the opportunity, and then the people have an opportunity to buy into your brand. And so they can buy, however much, they have to, each of these icons is what they call them. It's like a Shark Tank's sharks, but each one has to put up like $1 million to be on the show.
Whoa.
And so they have to put this into an escrow account. And so they have to invest this money at some point in the show. And so I've got that coming up next month, actually.
Wow.
Whoa.
Yeah. It's been it was supposed to be in May or in April or something like that this year. And then it's just been pushed and pushed and pushed.
What's it called? Are you allowed to say?
It's called America's Real Deal.
Okay.
And so they had one season on YouTube, just YouTube exclusive. They had one season last year or the year before that was paid programming. So it was never actually on a network. It was like you buy an hour on a network, late night or something, and they just put it on there. This year they hired a whole team of producers from like the Survivor shows and things like that. And so they've got a whole team of how they're stepping up the game. Jordan Sparks is the host. And so she's like the personality. And then there's I don't know if I'm supposed to tell you guys if it matters. I don't think it matters. So
we've got millions of listeners.
They're gonna find out. But there's the head icon is Byron Scott, an LA Lakers coach and Hall of Famer. Is that right? I think I'm not a sports guy. So
yeah.
I'm like, you guys are wasting this on me. So
I'm not. He is. So.
Yes, he probably knows him then. Him and his wife are like the main two.
Wow.
And so CC is on Basketball Wives as a reality show, and then he's like a Hall of Fame head coach or something. So I was like, this would be cool. And
he was a great player.
So that's coming up next month. I'm sure next year sometime is when it actually airs and everything.
Yeah.
But so that was really cool. I mean,
could bring a lot of attention to the brand, man.
Yeah, I don't know what it'll actually happen. I'm hoping it makes it to Netflix or something so that people can watch it or something.
Why not?
Yeah. And so the whole idea is I'm going for between $50,000 and $500,000 in investment money.
Yeah.
Okay. And so these people bring their own money, and then anybody that's watching the show can invest.
Oh, wow.
That's super cool. So it's like
That's
you
cool
get to
to
kind
do
of
it.
be a shark on the.
They have a QR code on the screen that whenever it pops up, you can like scan it and you can go in and you can review our financials. And so if you want my financials,
because that was the
they're
question.
all
Is
on
like,
the SEC's website. You can see what my P&L and everything last year and all that stuff. And
pull that up.
Yeah. Go look at my numbers. And they're going to ask me all these numbers on the show and things like that. So I got to have all that pretty well.
That is an interesting thing because they were talking about, I was watching some interview with Mark Cuban where they were talking about Shark Tank and like how many of the deals that you see struck, like how many of them actually happen. Mm-hmm. And they're like, because they have to go through like due diligence and make sure that like, and they're like half the time they said like something like 70% of them actually happen because they like the other 30% they get in and they're like, yeah, we make these for $1 a piece. And you're like, okay, cool. Well, wait, this says you make them for $6 a piece. And they're like, yeah, but if we order 5 million of them, we get them for $1 a piece. And they're like, okay, you fucking asshole. Like,
they mentioned something about that because there's a lot of them that back out, for like due diligence or whatever. They look at the books or something like that. They said that on this show, they will, when they say they're investing, they will transfer the money to an escrow account. Wow. And so they will not be able to back out.
That's crazy.
And so I'm like, that's cool. So they should be able to pull up all the finance because all the financials are already there.
Yeah, they should be able to do their preliminary work.
They should be already looking at it and being, did this company make a profit? Are they in debt? What are their sales like? Here's the trend from the last 2 years.
That was what Mark Cuban said that he'd invested in a company that said they had zero debt, but they had like $400,000 in credit card debt. They're like, it's on a credit card. That's not debt. Like,
it's just short-term debt. It's just short-term.
What are you talking about?
It's not the long-term stuff.
Yeah, we owe all of that in a month. So like that.
We'll pay it off this month.
It's fine.
Yeah. So we'll see. That's an exciting thing that's coming
Absolutely,
out.
man.
Right?
That'd be super cool.
Yeah, I'm a little nervous. I don't know what it's going to be like. But it doesn't seem like, from what I've seen, the companies are going to be these big companies that'll whip me or anything like that. It'll be cool. I really just have to convince them this is their investment opportunity of their lifetime.
That's right.
Yeah. Like, if you guys have connections overseas, like we can just get started real quick.
That'd be sick.
Expand it out into Dubai or something. If you guys got some Dubai connections, it'd be great. So, no, we'll see. So,
you'd be like Core and have the Aussie version of the pre-workout.
Yeah.
The Australian pre-workout.
Yeah. Dubai version of some Nutrithority.
There you go. So we'll see what comes up on that. Otherwise, and some of that's, how much money are we going to raise?
Right.
Yeah. Will we raise any?
Right.
There's always the chance you just go to the show and you don't actually raise any money.
I bet it's easy to let your mind wander of like, if we raise this amount, what would we do with it?
Yeah. I mean, the minimum goal they have to meet the threshold is $50K.
Okay.
The maximum which you can go over is 500. So they're saying we're in between 50 and 500.
Okay.
And so I'm like, man, anything in there, I'd be happy with.
Yeah, that's
cool. For me, it's going to be a marketing thing. And so I think it'll go into some sort of influencer marketing.
Well, that's a big thing for Shark Tank. That was the same thing that Mark Cuban was talking about, was that people go on to Shark Tank now, where it's kind of like part of what, like, the show's not as popular, but it's like people will go on there, say all the right things, and then ask for a ridiculous investment that they're not actually going to do. And they never had any intention of having any investment. They were just getting on there to get on Shark Tank because it's like the company blows up.
Yeah,
you get like a huge return from it. Yeah,
I could see that.
So
they told me it was going to be a 12-hour day. They said they'll pick you up at the hotel at like 6 a.m. and then take you into makeup and then into like the interviews, and then
you don't need makeup.
They said it's for the lighting or something. I don't know.
I doubt it.
So we'll see. We'll see when I get there. They may be like, "Oh, you're good."
Yeah, what a compliment that would be,
right?
though, huh?
Like, you don't need makeup.
This guy, get out there.
So go to lunch with the people, I think, and so the different icons and stuff. You get to go to lunch and hang out
with them.
Yeah, get comfortable and get to know them and things like that.
Probably talk a little bit about stuff.
Take some selfies. And
why not?
I'd be like, you guys, and they're contractually obligated to post us on their social media too.
Now we're talking.
Even better, right? So,
yeah. You can be getting some good attention either way.
Tell you what.
So, yeah. I'm looking for $500,000 for a 1% stake in my company.
Yeah. Right.
The best part is that it's just like a certain percentage, because they did a valuation and then they put up a certain amount of money for it. So it's like it's already predetermined, like how much we're giving away, and they can never take a controlling interest or anything.
That's nice.
Yeah.
And then the crowdsourcing it's a non-voting portion. So you don't. That's a nice confidence thing for you, I'm sure. Is like you're not worried about someone taking over and making decisions for Nutrithority. That it's you still get to make the calls and everything. So
exactly. Yeah. The guy that started the show apparently is a finance guy. He was lobbying the government to get crowdsourcing in as law, and that was part of it. That when you make it to the stock market, there's just so many ways for your competitors to just ruin your business.
Oh yeah.
And he's like, unless you're there and you can do it and you've got a lot of cash reserves, he's like, they could just tank you.
Yeah.
And he's like, so I wanted a way that, you could grow before you get to the stock market, like a miniature stock market. And so that's kind of what he lobbied the government for. I think 2012, the crowdsourcing, crowdfunding was put into law that you could do that.
Yeah.
And then since then he's been working on something
it's crazy.
like
There's like companies whose whole business model is like vulture, just take you over, sell your assets, make money.
They see you
I ruined all your lives. Have fun.
100%. So, they just want to do a hostile takeover or, short your stock or something. I mean, they can do it. So
it's crazy.
Yeah. Their long-term goal, I think, is to get to that stock market point, though.
Sure.
Where you get that $25 million valuation, and then you go to the stock market. Yeah. And I think that's, so they think long-term, like, what are you doing with this company? Well, your end goal is the stock market.
Right.
That about the threshold typically?
I think so. I think it's $25 million valuation. Okay. It could be way higher for some, but I think that's probably your safe bet somewhere in there. But that's just what he told me. I don't know anything. So.
Well, good news is, Defined Nutrition isn't worth anywhere near that. So
we're nowhere close.
It's not something that we need to be concerned about right now.
I feel like they were nice and generous with my valuation, and we're still nowhere close.
Excuse me, sir. We're worth dozens of dollars.
Okay. Like, do you take all my inventory into consideration? I got a decent amount of that.
No, we do not. Just like the bank, your inventory doesn't mean shit.
Actually, that's just profit you've made already.
Does when does all that expire? Oh, less than 2 years? Like, no,
that's inventory. You just made money. So. You're gonna pay taxes on that.
Yeah, we love that. We love it.
Well, I think we're getting pretty close to 2 hours here, and I think
we're quick, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. That's crazy.
And
I was like, man, I gotta pee. I guess that's why. So
well, that's a good marker. We'll make sure you can go pee here in just a sec. We'll
just a good ending for that is just to let you guys know. I feel my bladder. So.
Well, Jared, really appreciate you coming down a day early to join us on the podcast. Excited to have you out for the event tomorrow and to kick some butt. And man, we've got a lot planned for tomorrow, so I think it's going to be
Dunk
a big
Tank,
day,
right?
So.
Dunk Tank. Yeah. That was a great addition. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
I saw that and I was like, this is a good one right there. So
it's funny.
We've got shifts, for all the employees. So like you can dunk your favorite employee. All the proceeds get donated. So it should be a good time overall. So
that'll be a great one.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, dude, just to kind of wrap things up, man, like first and foremost, I know we've touched on it and talked about it quite a bit, but like, man, I know speaking for Kevin and I, like, man, we just really appreciate the way that you guys do business, and the products that you make are top tier. You're retail friendly. It's all the things that like make business easy. Is working with people like you guys, and so man, we just really appreciate the fact that you guys do business that way, and so man, there's a reason why that happens. It's like when you get good people in charge of good businesses, it's like it makes it super easy and super fun to be able to have your stuff and be able to interact and just everything, man. We just really appreciate the way you guys do things because it makes our life easy, having the stores and being able to have quality products that make sense for the store, make sense for the customers. And it's a win-win situation for everybody. And man, just really appreciate the fact that that's how you guys are, because not everybody's like that. You know what I mean? And so the more we can associate with people that do things the right way, like the better better the industry gets.
True.
And so the industry we all know doesn't always have the prettiest moments. It has its bruises for sure. But man, there's more and more examples of lights in the industry, like doing really cool stuff and doing stuff the right way. And Nutrithority is easily one of those. So
thanks. I appreciate that.
Man.
I think that's honestly one of the reasons I was excited to talk to you, because I feel like you can tell a lot about a person about the way that they run their business and the good formulas, the great structure to the business that supports us and makes it really easy to do well with your brand in our stores. Shows how much you care just genuinely about other people. So it's you can almost tell from the brand and how it's run on what kind of people you guys are as a family.
I appreciate that.
So was
awesome.
genuinely excited to have you on, get to know you a little bit more personally. So
no, this has been great. This is a lot of fun. You guys are always great. You know,
appreciate that.
You guys do a great job. Your stores have been awesome.
Yeah.
You know,
Thanks, man.
it's gonna be exciting to watch you guys continue to grow and see what's next.
We're gonna keep
we're
pushing.
trying.
Yeah.
We are trying.
I mean, it's never ending. It doesn't get better though.
Yeah.
And then when Nutrithority really blows up on after you're on this show and everybody in Oklahoma City is like, where do I get Nutrithority? We're gonna be like, right at Triad.
That's right. There you go. I'll be like, here are the links. Show everybody the show.
That's right. That's right.
Had to play it on the TVs.
Yeah, there you go. I was like, worst case scenario, I'm gonna get some cool media out of this.
Yeah,
thing.
Man, why not?
I'm
Absolutely.
gonna put the as seen on TV banner all over my website.
We'll have an as seen on TV section. It's just you guys.
I'm gonna start throwing it on all my bottles.
Yeah,
actually.
now we're
put
talking.
Heck yeah,
as
put it
seen
right on the
TV.
label.
Yeah, exactly.
That's too funny.
No, but for real, I mean, it's a tough industry, and you know, you can get jaded the longer you're in the industry. So it's nice to chat with people like you guys, especially doing business with people like you guys, because you know, you cannot want to be in this industry pretty quickly once you deal with, and you guys know, because you're on the other side of it too, dealing with different retailers and dealing with the problems and dealing with just the way the industry is in general, with the social media side of it and everything. It can be a lot at a certain point. I just want to make good products.
Amen.
You know, I want to grow my business, but I don't have to be the biggest company that's out there. You know, whatever you have to do to get there is probably not what I'm interested in, to be fair.
Amen.
You know, that kind of thing. And so I just want to create a good brand and build the brand over time. And that's really it.
In my opinion, I think that creates potential to be the best though.
Well, thanks.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's the thing too, where it's like, you know, and somebody who's been in the industry as long as you have been and seeing the brand and the stuff that you guys have done, it's like, you know it as well as anybody. We've talked about brands go high and then they go low, and it's funny because it's like they fall into the exact same steps of their predecessors.
It's true.
It's like you're walking the same snow prints, and I don't know why.
Yep.
Like you watch this company go here and then go here, and yet you're doing the exact same thing they were. And so I think when you have the kind of mindset that you have of like, hey, we don't need to be the biggest immediately, let's grow over time. I think it's something that we have too, where it's like you can look at all these things from a little bit of a further back lens and be like, you know what, I don't think I want to do that. You know, I don't want to do what they did and what they did. Wait, and what they did and them and the wait a minute.
Right.
Turns out as soon as you do that, things don't go so well.
For a long time, it was mass market.
Yeah.
Mass market. We've said that mass market's the kiss of death.
Yeah.
I mean, you go into these major retailers and usually that's the downward. I don't know if that's true in 2024. Could have changed, but the previous years.
It sure seems pretty true still.
It was the truth for a long time.
It sure does seem
You see a brand show up in Walmart and it just for some reason doesn't, even if it's the exact same formula, it just doesn't seem like it has the quality that it does. It's like, it's a Walmart brand. Like, okay.
And people come to the retail stores because they want the specialty items.
Yeah.
You know, so all of a sudden they're like, what do you have that other people don't have?
Right.
And well, you know, that brand that's over there all of a sudden lost its allure because it's in Walmart. Now it's no longer this hardcore underground supplement. Now it's just the mainstream stuff.
Yeah. Well, and what's funny is it's like, yeah, you know, I don't know. I've never bought my supplements from Walmart, but it's like, it's not why I'm there. Right. And it's like,
true.
I've heard the same thing. Gosh, we could talk for hours, but I've heard it's the same goes for like shoes, and I'm sure all like so many other industries of like as soon as shoes start showing up in like mass market like types of stores that the people that made the shoes popular in the first place, the influencers are like, oh no, I don't want them anymore because everybody can get them, and then they immediately lose popularity.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
So. That is interesting.
Yeah.
What episode is this? 55?
56.
56.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome.
56. So,
Jared?
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
Thank you so much for joining.
Yeah.
We will let you pee.
Yeah.
Thank you,
everybody.
I've still got time. You know, I've been able to hold this thing.
Yeah,
you know.
we're doing good.
We got another hour at least.
Why is the couch wet?
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. I spilled my drink.
Yeah, right.
Episode 56. Thank you, everybody, for watching.
Yeah, heck yeah. So, all right. And hopefully you're watching this and you had a great time at Sample Triad because
That too.
if you're watching this, you came to Sample Triad.
That's right.
That's right. So, all right.
Thanks,
That's
guys.
Awesome.